All right. Today we're going to be starting with working on our properties of algebraic expressions. The first one, so let's go ahead. We're going to add page 21 to our composition book, and we're just going to title it short and sweet properties. So let's go ahead and turn all the way to page 21. Page 21. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead, put our title, and let's do the identity and zero properties. Zero and identity properties. These properties just state for the identity, for multiplication, states that anything times 1 is equal to itself. For zero property, means anything plus 0 is itself. So this says identity. Multiply by 1 equals itself. So for example, 5 times 1 is equal to 5. Alright, so let's look at the zero property. Okay, let me move my hand a little bit so you can see everything. So let's look at the zero property. This just states that adding 0 equals itself. So, example, 5 plus 0 is equal to 5. So this is what if it asks you to do the identity or zero properties, this is what it's asking you to do. Alright, commutative property. So the commutative property is for addition and multiplication, okay? Commutative property just means that order does not matter for addition and subtraction. For addition and multiplication. Subtraction order does matter. Same thing with division. But for addition and multiplication, order does not matter. So, for example, 5 plus 2 is equal to 7, right? Or 2 plus 5 also equal to 7. So let's look at that for multiplication. 5 times 2 equals 10. Or 2 times 5 is equal to 10. Alright, so these are the commutative properties. So it's simply stating that order does not matter for addition or for multiplication. Alright, so now let's go to this right here. Associative property. All right. So let's go ahead and look at the associative property. The associative property is basically the same thing as the commutative property. With the associative property, it just means parentheses are involved. So let's say like we have 6 times 5 in parentheses times 7, right? Well, 6 times 5 is 30 times 7. 30 times 7 is 210. Simple, right? And this is basically the same thing as the commutative property. So now we have 7 times 6 times 5. Oh, sorry. Now instead of moving the numbers around, I'm going to have 6 times 5 times 7, but instead of the parentheses being over here, I'm going to move them here. Well, that's going to be now 6 times, that's not a 6, 6 times 35, and 6 times 35 is also 210. So the associative property just means that you can move the parentheses around for multiplication, as well as, just like with the commutative property, you can also do it for addition. Oh, it's getting blurry. Let me autofocus here. Alright, so let's try this for addition. Let's do 2 plus 5 plus 3. Let's put the parentheses here. I'll do 2 plus 5 plus 3, and I'll put the parentheses here. Well, PEMDAS, parentheses first, 2 plus 5, 7 plus 3, 7 plus 3 is 10. Alright, parentheses first, 5 plus 3, that's 8, plus 2, 2 plus 8 is 10. Same thing. That's the associative property. It just means that you can move the parentheses around. Alright, last property. Let's go ahead, I'm going to flip to the back. Going to move this over. This is called the distributive property. Distributive property. What the distributive property says is when you have a number like this, so let's say 2 times 5 plus 4. I'm also going to do 2 times 5 minus 4. Okay. Now, normally you just do PEMDAS, do what's inside the parentheses, works out just fine. But the distributive property you may have to use later on just means that you can take the number on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it by everything on the inside. So this means 2 times 5, 10, 2 times 4, 8, and you just keep the same symbol of whatever was in there. That's going to be 18. Well, let's check that real quick. So 5 plus 4, that would have been 9. 9 times 2 would have been 18. Came out with the same answer. Let's look at this one. 2 times 5, 10. 2 times 4, 8. Keep the symbol. 10 minus 8 is 2. Let's check it. 5 minus 4, that's 2. 5 minus 4 is 1, times 2 is 2. So it works out. You may be asked to do this with variables involved. So let's try one where it's 2 times x plus 3. Alright, so you just multiply 2 times x. Well, 2 times a number is just 2 times a number, 2 times x. 2 times 3 is 3. Or 2 times 3 is not 3. 2 times 3 is 6. Let's try this again. I'll do 4y plus, actually I'm going to put a number in front of that y. 4 plus 2 times y, and I'm going to make that a minus 3. Okay? 2 times 4, right? That's 8 times y, minus 4 times 3 is 12. So that's the distributive property right there. All you do is you take the number on the outside of the parentheses and multiply it by everything on the inside. So this is 4 times 2 times y. 4 times 2 is 8 times y. So you just leave it 8 times y. 4 times 3 is 12. Alright, hope you do well in the quiz.